again, everyone. I am Kill2 here with Darius Johnson, watching the third match of the fifth day of the Alliance tournament. We have Cry Havoc versus Agony Empire. Cry Havoc on your left have brought 3 Macarials, a Scimitar, 2 Daredevils, a Sentinel, and 3 Dramiels.
And for Agony Empire, we have a Baelgorn, a Vargur, 3 Tengus, and a Basilisk.
Now, there's a lot of interesting stuff to talk about in this match, but I do want to take 1 second and give a quick update on the last match. Following the match, Admiral Goberius, who's an important member of the Hydra Reloaded team, decided to start warping around Jove space, anchoring bubbles on the gates, and so he's been banned for the rest of the tournament. So congratulations to Admiral Goberius and Hydra Reloaded. Way to keep up the antics. So this match is interesting as well. We have a Vargur, don't see a lot of those. Have a Baelgorn. We have 6 ships fielded by Agony Empire, which we've talked about previously in this tournament being a way to lose 100% of the time. So we'll have to see if Agony can break that trend. And we have Cry Havoc bringing the kind of Red Overlord patented triple Macarial, Scimitar, and 6 Friggs setup. The teams are pretty far apart to begin with, but at least the Cry Havoc setup is extremely fast, so that won't matter too much. Actually, they're not that far apart either.
The thing I'm really curious about, Kill2, is do you think this match will be decided by the team that exhibits more honor with a U or with an O?
Honor without a U is definitely the better sort of honor.
Excellent. That's what I always thought as well. Unless you can have both.
That's not possible, I don't think. So, looking for a countdown. The ranges actually aren't all that far apart. These teams warped in at kind of adjacent angles, so even though they both came in at max range, they are fairly close. I mentioned that 6-ship statistic. That's been an important one we've come back to throughout the tournament. 10 ships, the maximum amount you're allowed to bring, and the statistics anyway show that the more ships you bring, the closer to that 10-ship max, the higher chance you have of winning. And we have yet to see a team who has only brought 6 actually win a match so far in the tournament. So we have something going on in this match. I guess maybe Agony has a 7th ship. It looks like in local they're saying they lost a player. Someone's waiting for someone to come back into local before they start the countdown. I'm still not seeing another ship on the field, so I'm not sure. Oh, maybe he was like going to the bathroom or something. They're talking more like he was AFK than disconnected, so anyway, they're getting it sorted, I think.
Maybe he's betting on the U in honor, but he had to go get it.
Maybe, what?
I don't know.
Oh yeah, we should look at these Tengus. We've also seen a lot of Tengus in the tournament. They don't all have the same setup, which is always interesting. Usually we see the kind of straightforward damage tank configuration, but the Tengu flown in this match by Alar Darkwind looks like it is set up differently. I can't tell by looking at it what configuration that is, but my gut tells me, well, maybe logistics, even though the Basilisk's there. We'll have to see what it does.
We have a lot of drones on the field for Cry Havoc, and we are underway.
Yeah.
In case you haven't noticed.
Wow, interesting actually. Cry Havoc has heavy shield maintenance bots. Kind of weird to put heavy bots. I don't think the Macarials have very big drone bay. They are making their way across the field though. Their Sentinel's taking a little bit of damage, but it's getting ripped back pretty easily by the Scimitar. We should start to see damage get applied pretty quickly. Wow, the Agony team running a cap transfer chain. We've seen a lot of this, and yes, the Agony logistics ship is running, or the Agony Tengu with a different configuration, I'm sorry, is running logistics. So you may see the shield transfer animation in there. He will be the logistics backbone. The Basilisk, I guess, is just bait and cap transfer, because cap transfer doesn't fall under the logistics restrictions that the remote reps do.
Not only can that be extremely effective, it is absolutely beautiful.
Now this is kind of a weird configuration. We've seen this with Ravens and some other ships. The Vargur actually fits pretty well into this, but a Baelgorn usually does not want to run a shield tank. It needs those mids for webs and probably for ECCM. So it's pretty strange to see a Baelgorn involved in the shield transfer setup, and just no damage at all being taken by either team so far.
No, it does look like Agony is switching around, trying to find a hole in that remote rep, but thus far they have been unsuccessful, and we're kind of looking at each other.
Yeah, nothing going on at all. They were working on that Sentinel. I don't know. The Sentinel actually is a really great ship for this match. The Tengus obviously will be able to do damage, but if they have tracking disruption on that Sentinel, which is what it's good at, that would totally lock down the Vargur, basically. It could take the Vargur out of the match. So, I don't know what's going to happen here. It looks like Havoc's going to go for the Basilisk, see how the tank holds up there. We've seen so far these tanks are pretty strong, and it's really hard to break them, especially without a lot of ECM, which this Havoc team really has no ability to disrupt targeting whatsoever. They have no ECM unless their Frigs have damps, but that really wouldn't even matter because the Agony team is so tightly packed there.
Not one bit. You see the Sentinel actually kind of dips into half and then back armor as it gets remote repped. The tank on that Basilisk held just fine. We do see a little bit of damage on the Agony on one of the Agony Tengus. What we're seeing here is, well, at least on the Havoc side, you see them kind of probing, looking for a hole in the armor. For whatever reason, the Agony team is just gung-ho to get rid of that Sentinel.
Yeah, I think they're probably just going for, well, I don't know. It could be all about range. But the thing is, we talk a lot about how annoying these setups are to watch, and it's sort of true. It's kind of more slow-paced, but in previous rounds, it really hurts you to do something like this if you don't win outright because you don't collect enough points, and the points are really important. But at this stage, if they can maintain their tank and take out the Sentinel, or, you know, just take out a couple ships, that would be enough to push them through. So it becomes a lot more viable moving forward in the tournament when you get to the finals rounds like this than it was, in my opinion, in the qualifying rounds when the points make such a big difference.
One of the other advantages is you do get to see some more shots of the really beautiful planets as they spin around.
Yeah, and there's actually a lot of teams that are happy to spend a lot of time on camera. Probably a lot of teams that are happy to waste everyone's time on camera, as we've seen with Frigs and stuff that Darius did so much. One thing we've talked about when we've seen these setups in the past, even though it doesn't look like it's making too much difference right now, is taking out the rep drones. You know, if Havoc targets the logistics Tengu, takes all the rep drones out of the picture, it's basically on its own, and they can focus on it. But there isn't really a lot of rep drones in this setup for Agony Empire. Either that or they've all been killed. Maybe that's what they're doing. Maybe they're taking out the drones, because I don't see any damage. Even there we go. Now the Tengu's taking some damage. Maybe they were getting those drones out of the way. Maybe. So now we're going to see that that Tengu, which is the logistics Tengu, well, our Darkwind there at the top, he's the one that they need to break. He's the one that is actually running logistics for the rest of the team.
What, I forget what match it was we saw last week where we did have a scenario where when we lost the maintenance bots, basically the fight turned completely.
Yeah.
Do you recall?
I think that was the last one. It was Death from Above and shoot, the team with the Maelstroms. I think that was Legion Romana, actually.
Okay.
But yeah, the drones can make a difference. I don't know if there was a lot of drones at the beginning of this match. I didn't look. But right now, there's only a few remaining, and they're all lights, so they're not making a very big difference. But the Tengu, well, our Darkwind's Tengu is running a pretty strong local tank. He is getting cap transfer, and so he's able to boost back pretty comfortably, it looks like, right now.
And if you'll notice, it seems that Agony has recognized the futility of plinking away at that Sentinel for 2 days and has switched targets to Mr. Suffering and the Mercurial. Yeah,
and he's actually hurting a little bit. He's down to about half shields. There's a lot of repair drones on the Havoc side, which they're probably really unhappy about now, wishing they would have brought ECM drones or even damage drones. But they did transfer some of those over to that Mercurial, so now he's repping back pretty comfortably. So yeah, that's the problem with bringing a setup like Agony, is it's very difficult to kill anything. If you run into any setup at all that has the ability to tank damage in the long run, you know, if it's anything but a totally passive setup, you're going to have a really hard time breaking the tank because you're low on damage. Obviously, the Balgorn makes a pretty big contribution to that effort with the neutralization. They could potentially shut down the Scimitar with the neuts on the Balgorn, but so far, nothing like that happening. Still no damage really being taken by either side. And one of the things you actually tend to see a lot of these interdependent setups, and that's why we tend to see things like we were commenting on that we didn't see in the last match, which is where you break one link in that particular chain, and usually the match falls pretty fast because they're so interdependent that if you take out one ship that's serving a primary task, you kind of leave the team unable to function at sometimes. And recovery is a huge factor in that. Yeah, I would say especially, yeah, if Agony loses anything, they'll buckle completely. kind of, you know, the match you mentioned with the Maelstroms, I think the Luzhermana versus Death from Above, I talked a little about the range that the Maelstroms were sitting at and kind of what effect that had on the match. And obviously, Cry Havoc needs the absolute maximum damage they can get out of these Macarials. And they do, I mean, I don't have exact ranges, but it looks to me like they're sitting pretty well into fall off. Maybe, you know, a good 30 or 40K actually, maybe 20. But I would think pulling up closer wouldn't hurt them at all. Most of the damage they're taking is coming from missiles, and if it's too much when they get close because of the Vargr or the Balgorn, which seems unlikely, they could always head back out.
It looks like Agony is definitely targeting those drones, as we mentioned earlier. I've just seen like 6 of them pop of Cry Havocs.
Yeah, they tested that Macarial tank, and they weren't able to break it, so now they're trying to take out a lot of those logistic drones, hoping that will make the difference, and that then they can switch. You know, something good they can do, which may end up working in the long run. The Balgorn this whole time putting cap pressure on the Cry Havoc team. If they take out all the logistics drones and then they put the neutralization all on the Scimitar, which is actually now taking tons of damage, without the logistics drones, they could break it. So Simi going down hard now that it's had all those logistics drones removed.
And what you actually saw there is when they realized that their drones were being targeted and popping on the Scimitar as it dips into structure and dies. What we mentioned earlier was the importance of those drones, and when they saw them targeted, they pulled them in, breaking the locks, and then launched them again, and were unable at that point to keep the Scimitar up. And the Cry Havoc Scimitar goes, which will probably have a major impact on what happens next.
Yeah, that's huge. I mean, at this point, all Agony needs to do is not lose a ship, and they win the match, which is big. I mean, that they should be able to do that. The nice thing about these cap transfer setups, if they're able to kill something, is that they're built to tank indefinitely. There's no dependence on cap boosters because the efficiency of the cap transfer. There's no time limit on the setup at all. So since Cry Havoc hasn't been able to break it up to this point, Agony's got to be feeling really good right now about their ability to maintain their tank, and without logistics, they're going to have a pretty easy time moving on and breaking these Macarials, which is exactly what's happening now. That Macarial Mistrix suffering already in about a third shields.
And with that comparison, Agony has just officially become Trent Dilfer. It's an American football reference for those of you who don't get it. All he had to do was just not lose. Mr. Suffering entering armor, and it looks like they may have broken through.
Now at least one of the Macarials has moved right up into optimal, which I think they probably should have done a lot earlier. But I don't think it's going to make any difference right now. Agony is really comfortable. Their tank really hasn't struggled at all. There's no real ability outside of killing drones that Cry Havoc has to alter the match at this point. And I mean, it doesn't look to me like Agony's depending on drones really at all. And this first Macarial about to go down, so we might not only see Agony outlast here, but they might actually kill the entire Cry Havoc team.
Outlast. There's a third part.
I don't know.
Survivor.
I don't know.
All right, sorry. Mr. Suffering goes down.
So, one Macarial down, 2 to go, and then a bunch of Frigs. It doesn't really matter if they're able to catch the Frigs. This is kind of a nightmare for Cry Havoc. We've seen this Macarial setup fielded a lot so far. It's done well for the most part. It did better early on in the tournament. Round 1, when ROL fielded it, they had one of the quickest matches of the whole tournament, and it did pretty well most of the time it's fielded, but really not good at all here. The Daredevils and the Dramiels basically useless in this match outside of their damage, but that damage not enough as this second Macarial about to drop.
Yeah, this is quickly slipped over to what I believe will end up being, after a less than has thus far been extended period of time, Agony's match.
This is pretty kind of surprising. You saw all the studio experts picking Cry Havoc to win this match. Cry Havoc both of these teams actually been a pretty persistent tournament presence for the last few tournaments anyway, and Cry Havoc has always done really well. They always make it to the finals weekend, as far as I know, and typically they make it a little further than that, even though they haven't won or won any unique chips or anything like that. But Agony always a presence as well. But here, Agony moving further. I think last year they went out the first round, the equivalent of this match, and now they're gonna get a look at least at the round of 16, which is pretty awesome for them. Agony Empire, if you haven't heard of them, kind of a PvP education alliance. They train people who aren't very good to be very good. So kind of cool to see them moving forward in the tournament.
Yeah, and nothing. As you say that, the second Macario for Cry third.
Yeah, that's the last one. They started with 3.
I'm not very good with numbers. The third Macario for Cry Havoc collapses. If they weren't able to break Agony's tank with all their DPS on the field, they're certainly not going to break it now. I wonder if they're going to go back to that Sentinel, just because it annoyed me that they were shooting it for so long and not getting anywhere. And then I'll clap a little bit on the inside.
So now a bunch of Frigs left. Nothing they can do, but they won't be extremely easy to kill, although the Balgorn is a really great weapon against small support. Having a long-range newt and long-range webs, or not a long-range newt, sorry, just a more efficient newt, and long-range webs really makes it possible to kill little annoying ships like this that wouldn't be so easy with a normal battle, you know, like an Abaddon or something like that. A bad and you learn pronunciation when you work in the tournament. So they did kill one Dramiel. There is good fights in local. Obviously, it's decided at this point in favor of Agony Empire.
That it is. And now it's just a matter of time. It looks like they've switched to one of the Cry Havoc Dramiels. But
I'm curious about the Vargur as a selection here. We don't see tons of those. Kind of an interesting ship to bring. Do you know anything about Vargurs?
Not really. I've never flown a Vargur. I'm not a Minmatar man myself.
I mean, I think it's decent, but it's definitely interesting. I don't know. I might have expected another laser ship to kind of mirror the range, although the Vargur has plenty of range too. So just 3 Frigs left now. One of them apparently had a boundary violation.
I'm willing to bet when I load the forums in a few minutes, I will know everything I need to know about Vargurs, however.
I'm excited. I want to get educated. They seem pretty cool. They have a shield boost bonus, which is kind of weird. I wonder if they put a local tank on that. A shield boost bonus seems kind of wasted in a setup where you have logistics, but with cap transfer, you could easily run a local tank too, but it would be kind of surprising if the Vargur was a primary. So it looks like the rest of these Frigs have totally... I think they're really far away. I don't think they're interested in fighting the rest of these Agony Empire ships. Kind of cowardly.
No honor.
Yeah, no honor at all of either sort. And yeah, Vargur, other than that, just doing a lot of damage and a bonus to fall off. So actually the range on it really good, even though it's fall off instead of optimal like Amar would have. So pretty. I don't know. We always trash talk these setups, these 6 ship setups. Agony should be congratulated for altering that statistic for us. There's no longer an amount of ships you can bring that has a 0% chance of winning.
Well, except for 0.
As far as we know. Yeah, I mean, I guess this worked really well here. I don't know if they knew what they'd be up against. I mean, they even killed the setup with logistics. Typically, these sort of setups do not win matches, but Agony showing that it's possible, at least, and maybe showing why they're so attractive. I think the Balgorn is such a weird choice because running a shield tank on it is kind of a bizarre idea, but it really adds a lot to the setup because it gives it the kind of the tackle that it lacks. I mean, when you run one of these cap transfer chains and a lot of tanked ships, you're going to really have a hard time controlling range, which is the most important element, in my opinion, in the tournament. And in PvP in general, really, range really is the most important thing. And when you have to all sit on top of each other in slow-moving ships, you have no ability to control range. And so your opponents can kind of do whatever they want. They can leave range when they're taking damage or close in if they want to add more. And the Balgorn kind of solves that problem because it gives you some long-range tackle. And we are seeing Claw call the match in local in favor of Agony Empire. Everyone's agreed that it's pretty much decided. So I feel comfortable talking to Soundwave. What do you think, Darius?
I'm greatly looking forward to it. Or perhaps not.
Well, I don't know. We were gonna and now we're back.
Maybe I'll just talk to you instead.
I don't really
You be
like
Soundwave.
when you talk to me.
I'll be Verone.
What's up, Verone?
Don't have the power.
I wish Verone would say that more often. So now the match is actually over. There's no more ships on the field. There's nothing else we can talk about. What's up, Soundwave?